Hi, I'm Ophelia Santos. I'm a Welsh textile artist and researcher based in Cardiff Bay. My work explores the relationships between fabrics, cultures, and communities. I'm really interested in how fabric preserves stories, is a way of passing down memories, and is a way of kind of exploring pride and heritage. My focus at the minute is creating works that encourage curiosity in people, giving people the kind of freedom to ask questions, whether that is about climate justice or colonialism or other kind of parts of history that we want to explore. Textiles is a really universal skill, a universal practice, and everyone has a story that relates to textiles in some way, whether that was passed down through their family from their grandmother. Fabric touches us at all parts of life from the moment we are born up until death. And so fabric, even though we might not always consider it in general life, it is a huge sort of force that encompasses everything. And so it's a really kind of soft, tactile medium to work with. And it is a great way to explore those conversations that may be a little bit more difficult. And also, I love exploring identity through textiles. You might know in Wales we have a huge woolen industry, or we once had a huge woolen industry. So I enjoy exploring that side of like Welsh heritage, as well as my West African Portuguese heritage. With my father's side from Cape Verde. I'm motivated by quite a few different things. First of all, I come from a family of creatives and of craftspeople. My grandfather was a carpenter and he worked in furniture restoration. And then my father is a stonemason, so very specialist skills. Not a lot of people can carve stone, or not a lot of people can carve wood. And it's interesting reflecting on that now, how I also have a job and a practice which uses my hands so much in the creation process. And like carpentry or stonemasonry, hand embroidery and working with textiles has been around for thousands of years. It dates back to the Egyptian times, where people were sewing kind of cloth together. And so having so much history and still being around today, I think it's very, it resonates with a lot of people, and it's a really interesting way to explore different stories and different cultures from around the world. And so I often reflect back on my heritage and my family's creativity and think, I too have a skill that's quite traditional. How do I carry on these skills for future generations and think about, like I really enjoy teaching people about sewing and embroidery. It's very wholesome. It's a very calming, relaxing skill and activity to participate in. And so that is something that motivates me from a perspective of skills that may be threatened or dying out because a lot of people don't give them the same time that they used to. 50 or 60 years ago, learning embroidery and patchwork skills were mandatory at schools. And I mean, it was mostly focused on women and kind of utility and looking after the home and being a carer. But I think today everyone should know how to sew. It's extremely important to know how to repair, say, a rip, or to repair, say, a zip or a button. Unfortunately today, because there's so much fast fashion, we don't give time to sew in like we used to, because for most people it's not worth the time that it might take to repair something. It is literally just cheaper and quicker to buy something online that can be delivered the next day. And so we don't have a lot of connection to the clothes that we own today. To be a good ancestor is to think about um, how people of the future, how children of the future will be impacted by our decisions today. Again, it's about thinking about the life cycle of the things that we buy, what we consume, where we get our energy. It's considering kind of our broader lifestyles and how the small actions are going to implement people further down the line. We can be quite impulsive. We can be very kind of selfish sometimes with our decisions, especially in today's world where we think a lot about self-care and going to the gym and getting our coffee, when really we should be thinking deeper about how we're going to leave an impact on the world. I think it's quite tricky to think about what happens when we're gone. I don't think many people want to think about that sort of thing, even though, it's kind of promised that in life it will come to an end at some point, and we will be leaving behind a world that is no longer ours. And so I think we really have to have those maybe difficult conversations around what sort of world we're leaving here for our future ancestors. Our community, I don't know if I think about one initial person. We all have a responsibility for our actions and for encouraging other people in our community and holding each other accountable for our future generations. To encourage people to be good ancestors, I think we need to approach the topics of climate change with empathy and understanding, come into our community with information that can be digestible, that isn't overly scientific, that isn't boring, and coming up with some creative and fun solutions that everyone can take part in. We can all kind of run. We can all recycle, for example, or take a bus instead of drive, or we could ride a bike. There are lots of different ways we can make climate solutions fun. My idea of climate solutions that are fun are things like sewing with a group of friends. Like, we all have a sew together, we repair things, and we're very intentional with like how we're going to spend our time to come together and repair our wardrobes, for example. My interest in textiles and how textiles and fashion are damaging communities around the world has led me to a collaboration that I will be taking part in next month in Ghana. I will be working with the slow fashion brand Nico out there, who are doing work to bring attention to waste colonialism, Ghanaian heritage. And so I'm going to meet with them next month, and we're going to create our own collaboration, which will be displayed at a festival, which I'm really excited for. And Ghana is actually the world's largest secondhand clothing kind of capital. A lot of clothing gets exported to Ghana, and it is showing up on beaches. Fishermen can't fish because they're dragging out clothing instead of fish, which is crazy. And a lot of the fashion that's brought into Accra is again extremely like low value clothing that can't be sold on, and it makes it a nightmare for clothing resellers to sell clothing because there's just such a vast amount of waste, essentially.